everyone, it's Margaret with Creative Stamping with Margaret. Today's card is from the September card class. In that class we worked on holiday cards, and I selected 4 different bundles from the mini catalog that was released at the beginning of September, and we are just getting ready for those Christmas holidays that will be here before we know it. Here it is, September, and I don't know about you, but my calendar is pretty full already up till January, but that's a good thing. The holidays always keep us busy. But this card is featuring the Christmas Classics bundle, so we have the Christmas Classic stamp set as well as the dies that go with it. And if you ordered a kit to go, you will have received the materials in the kit for making this card. You just need to make sure that you have the stamp sets and the inks that will go with it. The die cuts, most of them are all done for you. Occasionally there's an image that needs to be stamped prior to die cutting, and so I do try to give you some variations on how to do that. But let's get started on today's card. So as I said, we're using the Christmas Classic stamp set. The stamps that you will need out of this set are the Season's Greetings. You will need the Merry and Christmas, and that is for if you want to stamp that sentiment on the inside of the card. You will also need, if you're going to embellish your envelope, you'll need the stamp that has the holly leaves, the holly berries, and then the pine needles. So let me pull this to the side, put it where I can see while I'm making that. The dies that you're going to need from the die set, you will need, there are 2 of these that cut the little embellishment pieces that we're using. You'll also need the label piece, the large that has the berries and leaves on it, and then the interior that will fit in there, and that will be to cut your sentiment. The inks that I'm using for the sentiment here, I actually have embossed that, heat embossed that using the silver heat embossing powder. So if you wish to do that, you will need your Versamark and the silver embossing powder as well as your heat tool. I'm not going to demonstrate that today. I will stamp it and show you how to get that set, but I prepped one ahead of time just so, 1, the video wouldn't be so long, and 2, just so you wouldn't have to listen to the noise of a heat gun. And then of course you're going to need that Season's Greeting stamp set, and then the inks for the embellishment on the envelope and the interior. I have used Old Olive, Mossy Meadow, and Cherry Cobbler. And as I said, if you did not want to heat emboss that, you could just stamp that in a color. And I think I may do that as well, just to show you what it would look like, say, in Cherry Cobbler. Let me pull in the materials. So we're starting with a card base of shaded spruce, and I said Mossy Meadow earlier. I should have said shaded spruce. I grabbed the wrong one. Let me reach over and get that shaded spruce, not Mossy Meadow. I have them side by side in my storage container and just grabbed the wrong one. So we do need the shaded spruce, not Mossy Meadow. Then you will need a layering panel of Cherry Cobbler. Then, of course, a piece of this designer series paper, and this is the Joy of Christmas designer series paper. And you can find all of these materials that we're using in the mini catalog on pages 28 and 29. They're part of that Joy of Christmas suite, which includes the Joy of Noel bundle and the Christmas Classics bundle. And the next one of the other cards were that we have done in the September class uses that Joy of Noel bundle, so you'll get to see a card using that as well. But back to this card. So we've got our layering pieces here. Then you will need a piece of shaded spruce, and this is for you to cut that label, die cut that label. And it's a 4" by 4 1/4" piece. You could probably get a 4 by 4 or 4 1/4 by probably 3 1/4, but I just like to allow a little extra in case I have to tilt it. But you will need a piece of shaded spruce for that. Then, of course, your piece for your interior panel, and then you will need the piece for your sentiment. So let's start assembling the card. Get the layering panels done. Oh, and then one other thing I forgot, which helps set the card off. You'll notice that I use some of the silver twine, and that comes from the, let's see, I forgot what that particular set, I believe it's called Festive Trim, but I'll have a description in the video that has a list of all the materials used, so I will have the correct name for that, but I've just drawn a blank on that. But you will need some of that to wrap around. So what we want to do first is layer the designer series paper onto our cherry cobbler. Well, I'm having a time right now in that my glue doesn't want to work, and I have forgotten the name of the tape that I use, so let me just pull out the seal, although I really, as y'all know, prefer using the liquid adhesive. Just like that little bit of extra play that it gives me. So we're going to put this 2 layers together. Then the next step is to take our twine and we'll wrap it around the card, this layering piece. So I've wrapped it 3 times. And sort of get that into the center of the card. To just sort of take my fingers and position that where I think I would like those to go. And then one thing that I did, I just took and put a little bit of adhesive in the middle where it will be behind our label, and just to hold that in place. And then on the back I put a little bit more to hold those in place. They are going to move a little on the side. You could put glue dots in this location where they'll be hidden under this label, but you know, they're not going to move too much once they're adhered down. Now we can take and adhere this to our card base. So we'll adhere this to our card base. And as you can see, I'm putting lots of seal, probably too much, just like I use the multi-purpose liquid adhesive. I go through lots of it because I don't want my cards coming apart. So we can set this to the side, and then next you will take your layering panel and determine where you would like to have that, and of course I have that centered in there, and that is added to the card front with dimensionals. And let me grab those. For some reason I moved everything, I think, when I got started, and have taken everything that I needed away from my reach. And excuse me for this, but I reached over and got these now. So we'll put our stamping dimensionals on. And you'll notice that I have put some of those little red pieces behind. You will cut 3 of those using that coordinating die that I showed at the beginning with the dies that we're using. And what I like to do, I took one and I just cut it. It's that one there, so I just sort of cut so that we have that as such. And I'm just going to determine where I would like those. And then I'll hold those in place with glue dots. So we have a little red peeking out from each side. And we'll put some in the center. See, I'm just laying those in there so it comes across, and then I'll put one down here that will come out. And then we'll attach this to the front, and then we will do our stamping. You see, I just pulled, whoops, put it in the wrong spot. Let's pull another one off. So we have those. Now we'll remove the backs to our dimensionals. We're going to place that in the center of the card over the top of that silver twine that we have on there, and I see I did not get that exactly straight when I put that on there, and I don't think I can lift that, but that's okay. Someone will get a card this year that's a little askew, but the sample turned out really good. I had a little bit more time on that. Now this is the sentiment that I went ahead and prepared ahead of time, but I will show you how to do both of those sentiments. So I have another piece here that has been die cut, and so of course to do our embossing, you're going to want to take your little embossing buddy and get rid of any of the static that could be in the paper. Then we're going to take our Versamark, oops, I grabbed the wrong stamp, Versamark, and ink up our sentiment. And we will center that onto the label. And I think I got that off just a little, it looks like. I'm trying not to put my head in the camera so that I wasn't exactly over it. So it may be off a little, but you get the idea. And now this is ready to use our heat gun to heat emboss that. But I have another piece over here that has not been die cut, but it's the size that you would use. And since I use Versamark, I can just use it on any of the ink colors. And let's do it with the Cherry Cobbler Red. And then see, you could do that, and then we would just take our die and die cut that. So I just wanted to show you that other option for creating the label if you did not want to go through and do your heat embossing. But you'll just line that up as such and then cut it. I have found it's easier personally for me to go ahead and die cut the label and then see where I want to stamp, but I've done it both ways. So whichever way you find works best for you. But I did want to show you that option using the red. So let's go ahead and attach this to our front. And I'm looking to see if I have another liquid glue handy, and I did. Let's see if this one has glue. It does. We'll place this on our card. See, this is why I like the liquid glue. It gives me a little bit of play so I don't get off kilter. And I may be able to remove that later with some adhesive remover and reposition it, but I'm not taking the time while we're doing the video. Then for the card interior, I'm just stamping Merry Christmas, and that is from the stamp set, Christmas Classics. I just line those two stamps up. And determined where I wanted to stamp it. And then for this card, I just did the pine needles off to the side. I think for this one, I'm going to show you a variation that you can use, which is similar to what we've done on the envelope. And that's, I'm going to take the pine needles, and I'm first going to use my old olive, and I'm just going to stamp it in the corner here. Oops, and then I went straight into the shaded spruce, which I wanted to stamp off before doing that, but I think I had enough of the old olive off of that before I stamped in. So hopefully I did not mess up my ink pads too much. So I've pulled the old olive in. I'm going to do another piece there. This time I'm wiping it off, moving the old olive, and bringing in the shaded spruce again, and just stamp over that. And then we'll set that, put that as our card interior. And then for the envelope, as you see on the flap, I did the same thing. I've stamped. Let me clean my stamp quickly. And I'm going to start with old olive again. Clean my stamp. I'm through with old olive now. And I'm going to bring in the shaded spruce. And just right over the top of that. It just adds that little extra. These two different shades of green just really add, I think, a little oomph to that. And then grab the holly leaves while you still have your shaded spruce open, and just stamp them in between. And then to color the inside, I just took my light shaded spruce stamping blend, and I just colored in, and I didn't even worry about coloring the whole space in, but left, leaving a little white, because that just seems to add a little bit of watercolor look, which is similar to the way that the paper looks. And then bring your cherry cobbler in again with the holly berries, and just stamp those. In between that. So there we have our envelope done. We have the interior of our card ready. The last thing to do is to pull in some of the opal rounds, and for my sample card I colored those, but I'm going to leave them natural without coloring them, and I'll show you the difference how they look, because some holly bushes have the white as well, so I'm putting the smaller ones. There are large and small die cut berries here, so I'm putting small ones on the little small die cuts, and then on the larger ones I will place the large opals that are in the opal round kit. And these opal rounds actually are iridescent, so they have like different color inside of them. They look like they have a little bit of the glitter in them, similar to the glitter, the other embellishments that we have with glitter, and it just really looks good either way, whether you color them or leave them as is. move my tool. I moved all of my tools when I got started, so I am just have nothing handy to use. Let me pull this one off and reposition it there. There it is, and I see I missed one of the small ones. Let me put that. I believe you will need a total of 10, 5 small and 5 of the larger. So that completes our card using the Christmas Classic bundles. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments of the video and I will answer them for you. A list of the materials and the dimensions will be listed in the description of this video also. And if you have a moment, if you would just reach up, click subscribe, and like this video. Thank you.